Outlaw X, and all we'll have is outlaws. Anti-Second Amendment people are not trying to stop killings. They are trying to legislate who can and cannot have guns because left-wing nut politicians, their spouses and sons and daughters, are always going to be able to get a firearm somewhere. All outlawing guns will do is to keep guns in the hands of outlaws so they can run ramshot over the disarmed sheeple. That's the goal. And if it wasn't the goal, they would spend their time and money on comprehensive firearms education, free firearm safety classes, and free range time. Sam Patriot. Sam Patriot isn't real, or if he is, he never uttered the above. Nobody uttered those exact words, though that argument is common among pro-Second Amendment folks. The gun crowd believes that firearms keep us safe. They don't, of course. The U.S. hovers around 35,000 gun deaths annually, including suicide. We have about the same number of gun injuries. Included in the mix is a shooting of about 4,000 children. Death by gun violence is a huge problem in the U.S., and all the thoughts and prayers in the world will not stop a bullet. The U.S. needs comprehensive draconian gun legislation because that would save lives. Me? I'm way on the left of the political spectrum of restricting gun ownership, restricting who can own what, required gun registration, where guns can be carried, and legal liability, both criminal and civil, in prosecuting people who use guns to shoot others. The Constitution is sacrosanct to me, and the Second Amendment statement, a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, does not preclude drastic restrictions on gun ownership. I am proudly pro-Constitution, pro-life, and pro-civil liberties. Protecting the vulnerable is our greatest need, and greater restrictions on firearms will save lives, maybe as many as 35,000. No, there is no Sam Patriot, but there is Lindy West, who did utter this. Anti-choice people are not trying to stop abortion. They are trying to legislate who can and cannot have abortions because conservative politicians, their wives and mistresses and daughters, are always going to be able to get an abortion somewhere. All criminalizing abortion will do is keep people trapped in poverty for generations. That's the goal. And if it wasn't the goal, they would spend their time and money on comprehensive sex education, free birth control, and free contraception. Sound familiar to Sam's head-shaking words? It should. I copied, pasted, and filed off the serial numbers to show just how inane this argument is. Nearly 2/3 of a million abortions occur in the U.S. every year. This number does not include morning-after pills nor contraception that eliminate zygotes before they mature and implant in the uterus, the cell that signifies life's beginning at conception. Simple math tells us that 20 times more lives are lost to abortion than to gun violence. No, I do not think that gun deaths and abortions are completely parallel. They are not parallel for many reasons. The first being that people killed by guns are granted rights and protection under the law, while the preborn are not. Do I wish to grant rights to zygotes, blastula, or other early-term embryos? I do not. Do I want laws restricting later-term elective abortions? To quote a TV show popular during the seminal reproductive rights of 1967 through 1973, you bet your sweet bippy I do. It was not until 1965 that all married women were allowed access to oral contraception in the USA. The pill became universally available for all U.S. women in 1972. 1972! Ridiculous? I agree. And the argument against contraception for single women was that it would increase sexual activity, promiscuity, and that the guardians of morality had an obligation to keep America pure. It did. They didn't. And 1 year later, Roe v. Wade made elective abortion legal to the tune of nearly 1.5 million abortions. That number is down to 44% of its highest level, largely because of the availability of contraception, including morning-after pills. Ms. West's smarmy, partisan rhetoric aside, she and I agree on the importance of family planning, the ability to choose when and if to reproduce, and the power of comprehensive sex education and taxpayer-supplied. There's no such thing as free birth contraception. Where we disagree is the rights of the preborn, the right to life, that literally precedes all other rights versus the right of the mother to choose. Balancing rights such as privacy and self-determination against the right to life is parallel to the Second Amendment balance. To argue against a woman's right to choose at conception and early pregnancy is the same patriarchal nonsense that prevented single women from getting prescriptions for oral contraception. Likewise, screaming that elective abortion in late-term pregnancy is solely the right of the mother is exactly the same as claiming U.S. citizens have an unrestricted right to firearms. Both are false, and both lead to death. Many states have tried to enact a fetal heartbeat law that would not allow elective abortion after approximately 6 weeks of gestation. Do I think 6-week embryos are entitled to the same civil rights as infants 1 second out of the womb? I do not. But I do know that late-term abortions end human life, and the protection for our most vulnerable citizens is a paramount obligation of a just society. I hope we can all agree on that.